Testing, testing. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Laura Montoya. I'm really glad to be here today, and I want to thank the Aistats conference for allowing us to co-locate for this particular event and inviting us to take part as part of the LatinX AI organization and to invite some really incredible speakers to share their research with you today. For those that are not familiar with our organization, I'll be giving a quick intro for the closing remarks of this session, but I'm really glad to be here as well with my co-social chair, Brian Impata. He is an applied scientist at Amazon here in Valencia, so if you get an opportunity to meet him as well, please do shake his hand and say thank you for participating with us in this particular session and for helping to invite our speakers. For those that do not know me, my name is Laura Montoya, as I stated. I'm one of the founders for the LatinX AI organization and Lxai Institute. I also want to take a moment to thank some of our annual sponsors. So without their support, we couldn't host our sessions, of course. So we're really grateful to have them as well to participate and to be good partners of ours in our efforts to essentially provide more representation and opportunity for Latinx identified people in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and so on. So those annual sponsors include Google Research, Apple, D.E. Shaw and Company, D.E. Shaw Research, DeepMind, and 2 Sigma. So again, thank you very much for them for being a part of our organization and a part of this session today. And we have 2 incredible speakers, as I mentioned, that are going to keynote today. We would do a quick introduction for them, but there'll also be a more in-depth introduction into their backgrounds and their research, of course. So we'll be starting today with Dr. Vicent Botti, and he is a full professor at the University Politécnica de Valencia. He's also the founder and head of Grupo de Investigación en Tecnología Informática y Inteligencia Artificial the UPV, and of the Valencian Research Institute for Artificial Intelligence. And he's also a scientific director of the Valencian Graduate School and Research Network of Artificial Intelligence. Today he'll be speaking on the challenges and threats of artificial intelligence. And he'll be followed closely by our second keynote speaker, Dr. Raul Suarez, who is a research supervisor with the Institute of Industrial and Control Engineering at UPC in Barcelona. And he has been the coordinator of a PhD program on robotics at UPC from 1995 to 2023, and the president of the IEEE RAS Spanish chapter from 2019 to 2023. And his research is focused on intelligent robotics, motion planning, human-like movements, and roboticized grasping and dexterous manipulation. So some very wonderful speakers here today with us. So with that, we're going to hand it off really quickly for a more in-depth intro to our first speaker. And let me open up his presentation here. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So to start our session, we're starting with Vicent. Vicent is a PhD in computer science, full professor at the Universitat Politécnica de Valencia. He's also a founder and head of the Grupo de Investigación en Tecnologías Informáticas, Laura has said, and scientific director of the Valencian Graduate School of Research Network of Artificial Intelligence. Professor Botti is one of the pioneers in artificial intelligence, multi-agent systems, and agreement technologies in Spain and Europe. His activity in new technologies focused mainly in manufactured intelligent systems, real-time intelligent agents, agreement technologies, and effective computing. He has been recognized with multiple awards from Spanish and European organizations for his work in AI. Dr. Vicent has published more than 400 international publications, including more than 130 in GCR journals, 2 research books, 240 papers in international conferences, and 29 chapters in international books. Professor Botti has participated as well in 80 research projects, including 9 European projects, and in more than 50 national projects. He has been a principal investigator in 50 of them. In the context of this project, he has been responsible for the development of 7 applications that have been produced technologies transferred later into industrial and technology-based companies. So, without later giving more time to this, Mr. Vicent.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here with you and share my concerns about the advantages and threats that artificial intelligence currently represents for society. First of all, I want to thank the organization of LatinX in AI Social and International Conference on Artificial Intelligence and Statistics for their invitation to share this day with you, especially Brian Impata and Laura Montoya. Before starting to talk about benefits that AI is bringing to society and the evident threats that are occurring, allow me to contextualize the moment we are in the development and implementation of AI and the milestones that have recently occurred, because I think this will help us to better understand the purpose of the talk. Let's first do a little bit story of innovation through time. Different innovative ways have been identified associated with various technological milestones. For instance, in 1785, we have the first wave associated with iron, hydroelectric. The second wave associated to steam engine, the train, the steel, the cotton. The third wave associated to electricity, chemicals, internal combustion engine. The fourth wave, the five. Now we are in the sixth wave, associated to artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, robotics, and so on. An important milestone is November 2022, because so a significant milestone to the release of ChatGPT. Microsoft OpenAI released ChatGPT, and this has led to a revolution in the field of natural language processing and artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is a language model, but large language models were already in use for years, but making GPT available to society in 2 months, 100 million users subscribed ChatGPT. Has given rise to wild expectation, apocalyptic dangers of AI, fears, illusion, everywhere. Evolution has been very fast, and I have not included in the slide the more recent milestone and references to the numerous generative AI models that are being released in recent months. But from July 2022 until April 2023, a lot of models, a lot of applications of generative artificial intelligence have occurred. With the tremendous impact of the large language model technology has had recently, it seems that artificial intelligence is only generative AI. And I would like to highlight that AI is much more than generative artificial intelligence, recognizing the important impact and excellent results that this is having in recent years. But since 1943, when McCulloch and Pitts enunciated the first neural network model, until today, AI has had a long way and many results. Without going back to the prehistory of artificial intelligence, we can identify important historical milestones and technologies that have produced important results. Therefore, hybrid artificial intelligence or neurosymbolic artificial intelligence that combines knowledge representation, reasoning, optimization, and learning methods is currently of particular interest as the way for AI to address major challenges. Let's start talking about the benefits that artificial intelligence has brought in society. First of all, we can ask ourselves, it is possible to build computer systems that behave intelligently? We assume a definition of weak artificial intelligence. It is artificial intelligence dedicated to solving a specific problem or a set of them in an optimized way, such as playing chess, searching on a web page, language translation, image recognition, and so on, but without the possibility of extending to general problems. Then, if we assume that to play chess requires intelligence, if we can develop a program that can play chess, then we can develop intelligent system. Then we have a lot of examples of programs that play chess. In fact, nowadays, chess playing programs cannot be beaten by humans, and competitions are organized by between chessing play programs. Then, can a computer program recognize its environment? We have evidences that this program exists, and not only recognize objects, only interpret the meaning of this object. Can a computer program recognize its environment? Yes, we have evidences of that. We can find. We can find programs like Lxai, that it's possible to recognize the objects that are in our environment. We can find a lot of this kind of examples. For instance, this video shows some cases. Also, we have many examples of programs that can learn. I have no videos about that. But also, can a program solve problems that require expertise? Yes, we can find knowledge-based systems that can solve problems that require expertise. For instance,
Your name, age, sex, occupation, and select the relevant system and complaint. Submit and get into the questionnaire. Find the best description in each category using the left or right button. Do the same for will, morals, intellect, thermals. You get 2 cases absolutely free. Once you get the remedies, you can see they are broken down into various groups and kingdoms. Then you can buy a case for $5, 25.
In the case of a generative artificial intelligence, we can find a lot of programs, audio to audio, like voice mode, audio to text, brain to text, image to text. We can find a lot of programs that can provide this kind of functionality. We can find also applications like LatinX or Stable Diffusion. We can describe the images we want with text, and an AI will generate that image. Then we can find a lot of cases of programs that can provide services. So far, we have talked about applications of AI that have led to intelligent systems, but do we use those AI systems in our everyday life? And do they help us? Are those AI producing a social benefit? AI is very cross-cutting, and there are a wide variety of areas of application of artificial intelligence. Some of these areas, but it's not an exhaustive list, are these. We can apply artificial intelligence to healthcare, to education, to automotive, social media, and so on. But who has not used one of these personal assistants at some point? Who has not used Siri, Alexa, Cortana? recommender systems are present in many of the systems we use in internet. When we use Google, we use Amazon, or we use another business, online commerce application, we are using AI, and we are not conscious that you are using AI. When we enter a car park, we notice that the number of plates of our vehicle is recognized, and there are already frequent systems that manage the state and payment of the car park only through the identification of the number plate. Then, who doesn't use Roomba? There are a lot of home robotics that people use currently. Then, big data. We can find a lot of applications of big data. It's also an important area of application of artificial intelligence is the weather and climate modeling. The mathematical model that has been traditionally used has been improved with the use of the artificial intelligence. The impact of AI in healthcare is evident. For example, in diagnosis imaging, AI applied in this domain has been very well received by radiologists because they have seen that it helps them. It doesn't and will not replace them, but it facilitates their work and helps them to be more productive. The impact of AI on discovery of new drugs is also evident. It was very important in the discovery of new vaccines for COVID, for instance. Then we can find AI application for fall and collision detection that had saved a lot of people when an accident occurred. There is in the room some people that have not used in any case this kind of application. We can find also AI application of facial recognition. I think that is in a very important area of application AI smart city because the next impact will be very important. We can find applications in smart parking, in water quality, and smart energy, a lot of applications in the area of smart cities. I think that a picture is worth thousands of words.
With an uncanny ability to mimic human interaction and to sense the world around them.
Hi. Are you looking for Eric?
Yes.
I'm Diane, his virtual admin.
This
Hi,
system
Diane.
is
Are you here
running
for the 8 o'clock meeting?
Yes, I am here for the meeting.
Research
Eric is
Center of
running a bit late
Microsoft
from a previous
in New
meeting
York.
building. Would you like to wait for him or reschedule the meeting?
I'll wait.
Okay, you can go ahead and wave. We have great coffee down the hall.
Hi, Josh. I'm Eric. Hey, let's talk about AI. Artificial. Because Horvitz and his friend are talking to each other, she assumes they'll want to ride together.
I forget, where are we going?
I think it's building 9.
You sure?
Yes.
So, you're going to 9, right?
Yes. She also noticed.
Un colega robot
Blue. A contar cómo se dice. ¿Quieres? ¿Quieres practicar inglés? Hoy te voy a contar cómo se dicen los colores en inglés. Esta pieza es azul. Azul en inglés se dice blue. Ahora te toca a ti. Muy bien, correcto.
These are only cases of use of AI.
Copilot in Microsoft 365 can help you unleash creativity at work. Imagine you need to create a rock-solid proposal to win the business, and you don't have time for writer's block. You can use Copilot to draft a proposal based on your customer notes in OneNote, as well as another internal document. Copilot scans the target files and gets to work, quickly generating a first draft with all the key details from the files you provided. Now, let's say you want this to look like your previous proposals. Copilot can give you a draft in the format you typically use. It inserts product images and pulls in relevant visuals from other files. You can include a short summary at the top of the document. And Copilot can make suggestions to strengthen the proposal, like adding an FAQ, which it will generate for you to refine. Copilot in Microsoft 365.
This is another example.
Copilot in Excel helps you make sense of all your data. Say you need to analyze this quarter's sales results.
In this case,
you start by asking Copilot to analyze the data and give you 3 key trends. Within seconds, you've got what you need. But you want to drill in. You ask Copilot a follow-up question about one of the trends. Copilot creates a new sheet, giving you a sandbox to play in and helping you better understand what's happening. You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now you want to dig deeper and ask a follow-up question with a what-if scenario. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model and even asks if you want to learn more about what it did with a step-by-step breakdown. Finally, you can ask it to create a graph of your projected model. Copilot in Excel turned a sea of data into clear insights and actions.
But all that glitters is not good. These are examples of using AI that produce benefits to society, to people. No? But AI also brings danger, or rather than that misuse of AI also brings threats, as this is the case not only with AI, but with many technologies. Then this is a case of threat. No? An autonomous car runs over and kills a woman in Arizona. Whose fault in this case? The lady who jaywalked, the autonomous cars AI that didn't work properly. In this case, the reason for the malfunctioning was because the owner of the car changed the parameter of the car incorrectly. It was the obstacle recognition system that failed. Then we need an AI that is able to answer these questions. No? Statements like this from Stephen Hawking have raised alarm, but these statements are from 2016, and so far his predictions have not come true. Also, it's clear that AI and digitalization in general are influencing and will influence the labor market. There will be professions in which the number of workers will decrease, but new professions will be created. In general, AI will not cause companies to disappear or create unemployment. What is clear is that workers with AI skills will displace those who don't have them in some profession, or that companies that adopt artificial intelligence will tend to displace those that don't adopt artificial intelligence. In my opinion, what we are going to see next is a real threat from the misapplication of artificial intelligence. Disinformation, fake news is
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Jordan Peele created this fake video of President Obama to demonstrate how easy it is to put words in someone else's mouth.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Not everyone bought it. learning artificial intelligence algorithms that make them possible. Input real audio or video of a specific person, the more the better, and the software tries to recognize patterns in speech and movement. Introduce a new element like someone else.
Then it's evident that AI, and mainly generative AI, can facilitate the creation of fake news, but also it can also help creativity, as we can see in the last part of the video, where we can clearly identify that it's not a real video in which Spanish politicians participate. Bias is another real threat to artificial intelligence. A number of AI applications have already been detected in various domains where biases have been identified. A few of them are in healthcare area. For example, computer AI diagnosis systems have been found to provide less accurate results for black patients than for white patients. Another case is applicant tracking system. For example, Amazon stopped using a recruitment algorithm after discovering that it favored applicants based on words such as executed or captured, which are more common on male curricula. Online advertising. An independent research by Carnegie Mellon University found that Google's online advertising system showed higher paying jobs to men more often than to women. We can find a lot of cases when bias is present. In recent times, there have been countless news items, a lot of news related to AI, both for and against AI. We can find a lot of news. But we can find also, it's evident also that the artificial intelligence and the generative artificial intelligence can produce important impact in the area of education at different levels. But for instance, this new, a quadriplegic man can walk against thanks to a digital bridge between his brain and spinal cord. Then, with the help of AI and neuroscience, it has been possible to achieve this milestone. Then, this is an important result. How can we combat the potential threats of misusing artificial intelligence? I think that the answer is the responsible artificial intelligence. A trusted AI based on ethical and social values and based on the Charter of Fundamental Rights with a human-centered approach. This is the definition of responsible artificial intelligence. Responsible artificial intelligence is based on 3 pillars: trustworthy artificial intelligence, explainable artificial intelligence, and ethical artificial intelligence. But we have to solve a lot of challenges for this responsible artificial intelligence. For instance, responsibility for errors. It must be clear where the responsibility lies when systems make mistakes and must be held accountable. Transparency in decision-making. AI systems should explain their actions to human beings to demonstrate why a decision was made and when. The impact of AI on the labor market. Artificial intelligence is transforming the world we live in. offering new opportunities and challenges for various sectors and industries. According to an OECD report, it is estimated that 14% of jobs in member countries are at high risk of automation, and another 32% could experience significant changes in their tasks and skill requirements. A common idea is that AI will replace people in their jobs, leading to massive job loss and increased inequality. However, this view is overly simplistic and doesn't consider the positive effect that artificial intelligence can have on creating new jobs, on the complementarity between humans' capabilities and machines, and on increasing the demand for goods and services. Therefore, I think that it's more appropriate to state that AI will not generally replace people, but people with knowledge in artificial intelligence will likely displace those who don't have it. This implies that it is essential to develop the digital and transversal competencies of current and future workers, as well as to promote a culture of innovation and collaboration among the different actors in the AI ecosystem. Then we have another challenges in the responsible artificial intelligence to avoid bias. Fundamental values such as quality, diversity, and the absence of discriminatory must be promoted as a result of the application of this technology. Fundamental ethical values. What will be the fundamental ethical values of AI? It is possible to establish some basic principles. Then we have to work in these areas. Data protection and intellectual property, the importance of data protection and the intellectual property and cybersecurity. Then we have to work, we have to develop methods to guarantee that. Cybersecurity, a strong protection against cyber attacks is required as AI systems take on a more prominent role in society. Then we have to develop new methods to have a predictable AI that allow the evaluation, the anticipation, and control of the AI application. We have to work developing a new research line for evaluating general purpose artificial intelligence. But to wrap up, I'd like you to reflect after watching this video.
Today is an opportunity for Anne and Bill to have a conversation through our brain decoding to facilitate what we think would resemble a future use of an actual real-life application of the technology.
We want to try to basically create a demonstration where we're decoding the text, the speech, and the avatar at the same time from Anne's brain as she tries to silently attempt to speak. We just trained some new models yesterday, so we might need to test it a little bit.
Okay.
Because, like,
yeah,
we'll run through some practice runs.
The device is an electrocorticography grid, which is attached to a pedestal, which is screwed onto the participant's skull. Anne is the very first person to have this combination.
I think you are wonderful.
In the training lab, we really focus on restoring voice to people that have lost it due to conditions like stroke or ALS.
What we're picking up on are neural activity related directly to the attempts to move her facial muscles, and that's what we're able to decode into speech.
Hey Anne, how's it going?
It is good to see you.
Giving them the ability to communicate again with their loved ones and caregivers is really what we're looking to do.
I was thinking about running to the store.
What time will you be home?
In about an hour.
Do not make me laugh.
That's the first time we've ever had a conversation using this system.
In order to communicate in her day-to-day life, she has an assistive communication device. These are dollar store glasses, and she interfaces with it using a little reflective sticker on them. It's very slow, and the device now is very old, but she relies on it.
For us to have that conversation using her Dynavox would probably be like a 5 to 7 minute conversation.
It was nice to have a conversation. I forget how slow this machine is.
Then, if AI is capable of solving problems like this, should we limit its research or its application? This is just one success story, but we could find many others in various domains, such as industry, healthcare, commerce, cities, and so on. Then, for conclude, it's evident that we need to regulate artificial intelligence. We need to develop methods and techniques to evaluate AI applications to ensure that they are unbiased, that they comply with ethical principles, that they are explainable, safe, reliable, and so on. But we cannot put gates on the field. We must continue to invest in artificial intelligence research and in the development of applications that can bring significant benefits to society. But we must find a balance between the threats that misuse of technology obviously implies and the important social advantages that AI has brought and will continue to bring. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Ruti.
Sorry.
So we will keep the questions for later on. So we will move next to our next speaker. So let's thank again Mr. Vicente.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So next one, this one. So for our next speaker, we have Dr. Raúl Suárez. Let me just find it. So Dr. Raúl Suárez received a degree in electronic engineering from National University of San Juan in Argentina in 1984, and a PhD degree in electronic engineering from the Universitat Politécnica de Catalunya, UPC, Barcelona, in 1993. His current position is Research Supervisor with the Institute of Industrial Control Engineering at UPC. He has been the coordinator of a PhD program on robotics from 1995 to 2023, and the president of the IEEE Robotics Association Spanish chapter from 2019 to 2023. He is co-author of about 100 scientific papers published in international conference proceedings and journals. He has participated in 27 competitive research projects, national in Spain and European as well, being principal investigator in 12 of them. His research activity is mainly focused on intelligent robotics, particularly in the areas of motion planning, human-like movement, roboticized grasping, and dexterous manipulation. Thank you, Raúl.
Thank you very much. There's always some issue with.
Yeah.
Here it is. Okay, ready? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thanks to the organization for inviting me to this talk. I will talk today about, or I will present, my idea is to present some specific, very punctual applications of statistical sample, reasoning, and learning in a very focused points of robotics that are still under development, and there is still some room for research. So everything I will go on to present now has been developed at the Institute of Industrial and Control Engineering at the Technical University of Catalonia, that has 3 research lines. automatic control, design and optimization of process and services, and the division of robotics. And of course, I come from the division of robotics. Here we can see pictures of our labs. So one is dedicated to the industrial robotics. So there are fences separating the robots from the people. And the other one is dedicated to collaborative robotics. So the robots are in the middle of the people. The first point I will address is grasping object with two hands, which seems very easy, but it's not that way for the robot. So I will briefly, because there are not time for technical details, but I will briefly explain the problem. We want to grasp an object with two hands. We assume that we have the object defined by the point cloud and certain type of contact points in the model, and we want to assure the grasp is foreclosure, so immobilize completely the object. So basically, and very briefly, we found the major axis of inertia of the object. We choose the one aligned with the shoulders of the robot, and then we start splitting the object into slices using planes orthogonal to the grasping axis we have already found. In this way, we obtain a set of slices with a number of contact points, potential contact points in each one, and we will use this in a statistical point of approach, choosing 3 points for one slide in the right side and 3 points from the left side. The selection of these points has to be arranged according to different mechanical properties. On one side, we have to take in account the direction in which the fingers will support the object. For instance, if we grasp an object this way, so the thumb is pushing away from the body, while the index and the middle finger and the other finger are pushing against the body, towards the body. In this way, we have here a strong work of sampling and checking samples according to a number of criteria, so I will not enter into details. And once we have a foreclosure condition for the, let's say, 3 contact points from one finger and 3 contact points for the other, for the 3 contact points for the fingers of the other hand, we check the condition, and when we find 6 contact points that satisfy the foreclosure condition, then we have to check that the robot can arrive there, and we have to make a plan to arrive there. So here we have some simple examples, but they are illustrative to show the approach we are following. And the best thing is to see real execution of the task. So I know that I went very quickly through the technical details, but the idea is to discuss about this type of applications. So here we have an example of grasping an object with 2 hands. Of course, the object can be located in any place of the environment where the robot is working. Here we move the object to one side, and we still can find a proper grasp configuration. Of course, I didn't say it, but we use anthropomorphic mechanical hands, which is more system much more complex than the typical 2 parallel fingers used in robotics. This is another example, moving the object to the other side. Maybe the robots of the movement are a little bit strange, but the reason is that the planner used to find the motions of both arms are not specifically optimized. So you may see that the movements are a little bit not straight to the goal. So here we have another object, and okay, I will advance a little bit because, okay, so we move the object to one side, and it is still working. So and the approach can be used not only moving the object from one side to another, but the slicing according to different axes of the object can be used to grasp when the orientation of the object with respect to the body is different, like in this case. Okay, so these are examples to illustrate. I look for very simple example. Now we can discuss a little bit. So sampling and statistical issues play a very relevant role in these kind of approaches. The computation is extensive, but is still affordable for practical case, like the ones I showed. And of course, the slicing of the object removes some potential solutions of the problem, since we cannot make a grasp with one contact point in one slide and another contact point in another slide for the same hand. So this, solving this will increase the complexity of the problem. The balance of forces is another problem that has been already done, so it is not presented here in such a way that each hand contribute with the same amount of forces, of energy. And as a conclusion of this application, I would say that current technologies or tendencies would replace this kind of heuristic approaches by simple, completely or poor learning from a number of simulated or real cases. So generate cases by simulation and then apply, learn how to move the hands or where to put the objects, the fingers. But this is not with real application yet. So second point I want to present is the planning of independent but related arm movements. So the problem is here we want to grasp two objects with two hands, but there are some obstacles in front of us that are not allowed to reach the desired object. So we have to decide how to remove the obstacles with which hand and how to reach the final desired object. Again, we have some assumptions. The workspace is known, the targets to be grasped are known, of course, and the grasp for each object is already known, so which are another problem that have to be solved. So here we can use any planner. We have a number of planners for robot motion. The only thing is that we have to be able to provide a path for the robot and identify the objects that are obstacles for that path. With that, we can do a very simple approach, conceptually simple. Each of the desired objects is a root of a graph, and then we check how to reach to this object with one robot and with the other one. And we include in the graph as children of this original node, the objects that have to be removed to reach the desired object with each of the robots. So in this case, for robot 1 can reach, in order to reach object 0, has to remove object 3 before, which is this one here. With robot 2, we have to remove 2 objects. And we can do the same for the other desired object. And again, we have some obstacles that you can see in an illustrative example on the left side of the picture. And now we make another iteration, and we find that removing object 3 can be done with either robot 1 or robot 2. And we check for a solution. And we find a solution. So we can remove this object, and removing this object, we have 3 options for the desired object: grasping object 0 with robot 1 and grasping object 1 with robot 2. And this allows us to produce the table on the right side of the slide. So we assign object 3 to robot 1, and then object 0 to robot 1, and object 1 to robot 2. And this completes the whole cycle, and we can come out with a solution to decide which robot has to grasp which object, which robot has to remove each obstacles, and the path is implicitly defined because we use it to define the objects to be removed. Here we have some simple examples. So the first one has only one example. We know the position of the object inside the box, so there is only one obstacle. that is the cover of the box, of course. So in the right side and top, you can see the simulation of the object going to grasp the object and colliding with the cover. In the bottom right side, you can see the simulation of the real task, and on the left side, the execution of the real task. So here we have a more amusing example. There are more obstacles, and the robot has to remove some blue cylinders in order to be able to reach the green one. See here that there is also a problem of coordination. One of the robots has to move back following the same path. There is not a change of path. So the path is always the same, but moving forward and backward to synchronize with the other arm. And we are able to arrive to the desired objects. So the discussion here, sampling again plays a very relevant role, and therefore statistical issues must be considered. Again, computation is extensive but affordable in practical cases. And the key point is that there is always a not well-defined threshold between the search of more robot paths that eventually may allow the robot to arrive to the desired object without colliding with any other object, but it can take a lot of time to find the solution. While we can find a solution very easily, having to remove one or two obstacles. And it is the same as humans do when we want to take the coffee and the sugar for the cabinet, and we have to remove something in order to be able to reach the coffee, for instance, the coffee pot. Maybe we can find a solution that can grasp and extract the coffee pot without removing any obstacle, but it's more complex and it may take more time. So the easy thing is to remove one object and use both hands. And this is an approach still valid according to current tendencies in artificial intelligence and related technologies. Let's go now to ontology-based task and motion planning. Here the point is, okay, we have a mobile robot that have to take some tools in the kitchen and to move them to the table. So the question is, well, we have to define a sequence of actions for the robot to do it, and we have to represent, and we need, of course, some knowledge of the environment. So how we can afford this, how can we approach this problem? And here, one possible solution, well, in the left you have some sequences of actions to move a spoon, to move a knife, and to move a cereal box. So, and you can see easily that the sequence of actions are exactly the same for each of them. Just go, pick the tool, move to the table, and place the tool. But we have to arrive to this sequence, and then we have to tune this sequence for each of the devices, or the tools manipulated, because a knife is a dangerous object, while a spoon is not. So we have to take special care in one case and not in the other, and we have to come out with different solutions. So we use ontologies. For those that are not familiar with ontologies, it's just a way, it's a way to represent the knowledge. Here we have a very, very simple example. So we have things, and two subclasses of things are animals and foods, and subclasses of animals are mammals and birds, and one type of mammal is a dog, and another one is a cat, and an instance of a dog is a Spot, and an instance of a cat is Garfield, and an instance of a bird is Violin. And now we have all the information there, and we can reason semantically here to decide things. And we use the information relating these classes, like one likes the other one is against the other one is dangerous. Different properties can be assigned to each element in this ontology. And the point is to create task plan from this reasoning on this ontology, and in the particular case I presented before about picking a tool and moving it to a table, we come out with a sequence of actions like the one in the picture. Pick the object, move the object, and place the object. And this is the sequence of action of the plan for any of the tools. Now, this is the sequence in the task plan, and now each of these sequences is considered as a seed, and we've grown a behavior tree, which is really a tree of actions to be done by the robot. But each of the actions can in turn means developing another subtree of actions. Like, for instance, the first one is selecting a tool. We may have different hands, different grasping devices, and we have to choose which one is the correct for this task. Open is very simple, no other option, but then we have go to a pre-grasp position, which depends on the object and depends whether the object is clear or there is an obstacle that have to be removed. So in this case, we have another subtree planning the movement, planning the sequence of actions to do that specific action. Then we go to the grasp. Again, we have different options. Close the hand, the gripper, and lift the object. Again, in order to lift the object, we may consider different conditions. And we expand the graph in this way. So I think we have some problem here. Let me stop this one and move the other one. So here the robot has to take an object with the right hand and pass it to the other robot, changing it to a position that can be grasped with the left hand. So there was a can on the table in the place where the object has to be placed, and as you can have seen, the object pushed the obstacle to take it apart and be able to make some room to put the decided object and to be able to go and grasp it with the other hand. Okay, so now if the object cannot be pushed, like in this case, the system decides, instead of pushing it, pick and move it a little bit far away, and now we can follow with the original sequence. The interesting point here is that the programmer didn't say anything about these options. It's just decided by the robot itself, according to the ontologies and according to the reason done on the ontologies and according to the behavior tree obtained from the system. And as I showed you in the previous slides, if there are differences between the object to be manipulated, any kind of difference, the same plan, which is move, go, pick, move, place, can be tuned to make it slower if the manipulated object is a knife, which is dangerous, or can be removed with the step of going to a pre-grasp condition when we are going to grasp a spoon, because there is no risk of collision with the object, like with a glass, for instance, or things like that. So, and in this way, we can solve different applications, robotic application in deciding and obtaining the movement of the robot to do the task. So a small discussion, a short discussion. Well, representing knowledge here is the key point. So how we represent the knowledge, there are several ways. Ontologies is one of them. One good point of this kind of representation is that we can trace the plans and the reasoning done by the system. We know why any decision in the behavior tree was considered. It was considered because the knife is a dangerous object, so we decide, according to the behavior tree, to slow down the movement in order to do the task. It's just an example. One of the weak points, it's not a weak point, it's a necessity, is that we may have all the information and all the ontologies for a setup, like a kitchen or a factory or whatever, but we will always need some case-specific information, and this has to be provided to the system. So we have to provide some part of the ontologies with the specific knowledge of the tasks that have to be solved. Otherwise, the whole system will not have the basic information to decide what to do and how to do. And this is really a state-of-the-art approach. So all the current technologies are being considered here. And the last point I will show to illustrate basic applications in robotics that requires statistical learning or reasoning is dexterous manipulation, in-hand manipulation, which is still a very, very open field in robotics. You will see a number of very nice activities of robotics, but fine manipulation of an object is not yet fully solved. So the idea here is to replace complex. It's not fully solved because it is very complex. The decision on how to move the fingers, and please put attention that when you are manipulating an object, it's not just a matter of failing by 1/3 of a millimeter. Just less than that would make the object fall down. It's a very, very delicate action. So the idea is, up to now, we have developed some solutions considering a path planner. So the example that we show is the rotation of an object inside the hand, or moving only the fingers. And we provide the system with the angle we want to rotate the object. This is split into small angles, in small movements. So then we have a path planner. We have a path planner to define the small movement of the finger that will produce the rotation of the object, of the fingertips. Then, using the inverse kinematic of the robot, we will obtain the movement of the joints of the hand, and these are the inputs to the hand controller that has to take care of the forces also, keep a given force on the object. And this has a feedback using the direct kinematic to know where the fingertip is located, and we start again. So the goal here is to replace this path planner, and we also did it for the inverse kinematic, even when it is not completely necessary. Inverse kinematic of a finger is not difficult. And the final goal is to replace the whole blue block with only one learning system. So we will provide some examples of manipulation, and the system have to learn how to move the object. So now here we have some examples from left to right. We are rotating the robot around the X, Y, and Z axis, according to the picture in the right. You can see that it's not very dexterous. It's difficult for the system to be able to rotate the object around a particular axis, but we can do it. Okay. And here we have another example in which the system was tuned. Here is the rotation about the x-axis with different types of sensors, the same movement. Rotation around another axis, and with different type of sensors. The difference between one of the sensors and the other is that the fingertip in one case is planar, and in the other case is semi-spheric. Okay, so you have seen very, very simple examples, and now with a more complex object, rotation about the x-axis, rotation about the y-axis, and rotation, well, still about the y, sorry, and now about z-axis. This is more difficult movement due to the kinematic of the hand. Okay, so which are the problems here? This is, again, a short discussion. One real problem here is getting samples to train the system. So because it is difficult to do it in full simulation when you need to include forces. In simulation, it's not easy to simulate the contact forces. So getting enough samples for the training is not easy, and it is time-consuming. You can apply any learning approach, but generalizing the result for any rotation axis of any object and any grasping configuration is really a challenge. It's not easy. And well, we are testing different learning approaches for this. I presented one, but we are also considering some others. And again, this is a state-of-the-art approach to provide dexterous manipulation to a robot. Well, this is a view of the different robots in the lab, just to conclude. And this is a list of 3 projects we have currently running. One is a Spanish-supported project from the Spanish government to focus on each of the approaches I have mentioned before. Another is an European project that is focused on the intelligent part, the ontologies application of manipulation with different applications. One is in the kitchen, as I showed you before. And another one is dealing with manipulation also in a more industrial context. And this is a European project as well. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Raul.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we have time for a few questions, but we also wanted to close up. Should we do like 10 to 15 minutes, so you have time for your presentation, Laura? Okay, okay. So what if we do it here? Because I believe these are the mics we have, right? Okay, maybe if you come here, okay. So what I can do, maybe you two stay here and I put there, and I ask you to with this one. Okay, I can start here. First of all, if someone from the audience wants to
don't break it.
First of all, if someone from the audience wants to have questions, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the very nice presentation. I have a question for Professor Suarez. So basically, in your talk, you presented talked about the use of an ontology, right, in robotics. And nowadays, in the age of deep learning, it seems like a lot of these ontologies are also learned end to end. Can you think of a good use case of maybe doing some transfer learning where you use some deep learning and you combine it with these more rule-based system and sort of get the best of both worlds? Or what is your take on deep learning?
I'm not sure I understood the question. You mean application to different contexts, or?
Yeah, so could the ontology part be potentially replaced by a deep learning approach?
Not sure about mixing things here. So I'm not sure about mixing things. Let me tell you that in one of the projects, we have very different environments. So, and the idea we are working it, I am indirectly answering the question, so no, it's not the direct answer is I'm not sure. But what we are trying to do is to, let me tell you that in one of the applications, the project had 4 applications. One is prosthetic hands, grasping objects in a kitchen, grasping fruits to package fruits, and grasping and manipulating flexible objects like wires, cables, and things like that to assembly electronics devices, for instance. And the idea is to produce an ontology set that can be general enough to be applied in each of the applications. But then, in any case, I told you before, for each application, we need some know-how that had to be added. So, but this can be encoded in the ontology, and then that's it. You can reason from that. There is no need for more learning once you have the know-how encoded in the ontology. Why would deep learning? I assume you have to be always learning new things when you are incorporating new applications. But this is not a rigorous answer, so I'm not sure about that.
No,
So
that's
the
good.
question is quite open.
Yeah,
So,
no, I
but
think
that is my feeling right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or maybe from the Zoom call? Okay. I had one. Just let me get one. Yeah, so it seems that nowadays AI is solving tasks that we could say are complex for a human, like maybe dealing with huge amounts of data, as Professor Buti was mentioning, or maybe in robotics we have like in the industry they're being applied to maybe handle very heavy things or a lot of things throughout the day because they can work 24/7. But they are struggling at things that for humans could be simple, as maybe tidying up your room. That is both like perception, but also an action in the world with that robot. So what would you say is limiting AI to solve those simpler, in some way, tasks for a human, but they can do the other ones? And if you have any opinion on that, or maybe what could be done or researched if we are not doing it towards that direction?
I will provide a very short answer. Well, short or not. There is a sentence in robotics that is what is easy for the human being is difficult for a robot, and what is difficult for a human being is easy for the robot. And this was stated many years ago because the human being is not precise enough doing things while a robot can be. But on the other hand, the human being can think and the robot couldn't think. Now the robot can think also. So I'm not sure now where we can say that things that are easy for the human being are difficult for the robot. Thinking is still human being can do more openly, flexible, I don't know. But robots are gaining and advancing in that line. So I'm not sure that the sentence can be fully applied right now. And the other point related to movement, reasoning, and in robotics is that when you're using a robot, at the end, there is always a physical movement. And in particular, in applications like grasping, this has to be quite precise, quite precise. Otherwise, the object will fall. And it's it's a very critical issue. If you are, I have nothing against navigating robots, but we can find a path to exit this room But you can say, okay, I will have, when the robot navigate, actually, you can say we have a margin of security of 20 centimeters. And at some point you get 19, it's not a problem. And if the robot is 21, it's not a problem. In some other applications, it's not the fact of being intelligent enough to decide how to do, but you have to add the precision of the movement behind the idea. So I can tell you, okay, in order to do this, just move the object in this way. And you are intelligent enough to see my movement, and you can replicate it. But if you do not have your control inside of your joints, of your hand, well prepared, even when you understand the movements, you will not be able to do it. That is one comment in that line, but it's very specific for the application I showed before. So I don't know whether you can add something in that.
A more general answer could be that it depends on the domain. No? There are domains in which there are jobs that artificial intelligence work better than human.
Yeah.
No? And there are others that not. But in general, I think that we can understand artificial and intelligence as a tool that human can use to improve our jobs in general. But it's true that in some cases, AI can replace in several jobs, not human. It's true because repetitive jobs are not creative jobs, but when you need a creative job, you can use AI, for instance, generative AI, to create more things. But you use AI as a tool. Don't replace the creativity, because a generative AI is trying it about creation of humans. Then I think that the AI don't replace in reasoning, in conscience to human, at least now. I don't know in the future what will happen, no? But it's for me it's a tool.
Thank you. Checking again, just in case. Okay, I can continue. So, following on that, we have seen, and you were mentioning this, that, for example, in Europe, we are now introducing laws to enforce some regulation over this research area. I would like to see what is your opinion. This is like, I understand this is quite open question on some claims that are being made around this, that is, creating these regulations might be halting innovation or making it more difficult to continue doing research in these areas.
I hope that not. For instance, in Europe, from several years ago, has been adopted a responsible AI guide. We are working from several years ago about that. Recently, the National Institute for Standardization Technology, the NIST from USA, has created a working group, a new project to define the new norms that regulate an ethical, a responsible AI in USA. And the GRACE technologies are in this working group. And I think that at least in USA and Europe, we are working through a responsible AI. I don't know what will happen in China, for instance. Mm-hmm. But I think that we need to adopt in all the world some standards, some deontologic decision for the developing of AI, from the design until the use of AI.
Thank you.
Let me add a very short comment. So this is not a problem exclusively of artificial intelligence. So this is a problem of research in general, science in general. So, so my colleagues say, ethical issues in the researcher is always a point. So things have to be regulated, yes, This will slow down research, maybe, but I don't think, if you are doing good research, I don't think this would be a problem. So it's just a jump in the technology, and that's it. So let me put another example. Thousands of years ago, someone managed to invent a knife, and probably in the history of humanity, there were more homicide, more people killed by a knife than from any other weapon. So should we forbid using knife? No. This is a tool. This is a tool. We have to use it in the good way, or guns nowadays, firearms. So we have to use tools in the right way. So, but we will not be able to stop producing new things that can always, unfortunately, be used in the bad way.
When I watched Oppenheimer film, I find a lot of situations very, very similar to what now is happening with artificial intelligence. Yeah. It's technology. It's technology. My use of the technology is not the technology, it's the use that we make of the technology.
Makes sense, definitely. Just checking in case someone has a question. If not, do we have time for your presentation now? Should we go ahead? Okay. Thank you again, both of you.
Thank you very much
for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for those who are joining us in person and online. I'll keep this quick. This is just going to be a presentation on our organization for Latinx and AI for those that are encountering us for the first time. Okay, let's see if we can get it full screen. Okay, perfect. So for those that joined us a little bit tardy, a quick introduction to myself again. My name is Laura Montoya. I'm one of the founders for the Latinx and AI organization and the Lxai Institute. This organization was developed in order to ensure representation for Latin Americans or Latinx identified people working within artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and all of the other categories under that umbrella. For this particular presentation, I'm just going to show you what types of programs we have for our organization, and of course invite you to join us both at these events as well as virtually. And for those that do stick around to the end, we're also going to invite you to join us for tapas after this talk. We'll be meeting at Hispania. It's a nice tapas restaurant just up the street. So we'd be glad to have you join us there. Just a quick overview of some of the things we'll talk about here. Essentially our members forum, research publications, our venture partnership, our research workshops, our mentorship program, our Journal of Latinx and AI Research, and our supercomputer network. And I won't go into super detail about myself, but if you are interested in learning more about me, you may also use this QR code to pull up my website. Essentially, I started as a research scientist, became an engineer, and then decided to start my own companies and organizations. So now I'm, of course, an entrepreneur and investor. I'm so happy to be working here, and as well as sharing information about some of our programming and organizations with you all. And so, as I mentioned, this organization was really developed to create opportunity for those who identify as Latinx working in the artificial intelligence space. Our organization is volunteer-led. We do support primarily engineering, research, and startup initiatives. So there are many things that fall under the category of professionals working in the artificial intelligence space, but our programming specifically is focused on these areas of artificial intelligence. As I mentioned, we do have a mentorship platform. And our goal is really to provide an ecosystem where we're nurturing a continuing relationship with academia, industry, and government professionals in order to fully support individuals working within this space from all areas of artificial intelligence. And so overall, our organization's mission is really staying the same since we started back in 2018, and that is to bridge the communities, academics, industry, and politicians working to further AI innovation and resources for Latin Americans globally. And so once we started in 2018, this actually started in San Francisco. We started with a town hall session to find out what was missing for individuals who identified as Latin American working in AI, or for those that identified as Latinx, but maybe are just learning about artificial intelligence, what barriers were in place to essentially block them from learning more or getting into the space. And then from there, we decided to launch our organization and first set of programs in 2019, which focused on hosting these research workshops and social events. From there, in 2020, we launched our leadership programs as well as our mentorship program, and our organization has been evolving and expanding ever since. To date now, in 2023, we have a new forum, community engagement, and a focus on helping startups also succeed within the space. As you've heard now, we do have this member directory and forum. We do invite you to join us. It's really easy to join on forum.latinxai.org. You can sign up even as an ally if you do not identify as Latin American or Latinx. And this particular forum was designed to help facilitate conversation and community building online. So we do have a lot of resource sharing between our members, as well as opportunities to identify new hiring for people that are looking to do recruiting for their companies, or recruiting for events like this for new speakers. And really quickly about some of the research that we have published on behalf of our organization, one of which was this titled Government AI Readiness Meta-Analysis for Latin America and the Caribbean. Essentially, we were trying to better understand how ready different governments in Latin America were in order to access artificial intelligence. And this particular research originally was developed after finding that there was a ranking that was developed by the IDRC for the entire world on AI readiness for the government in different countries. And in particular, the countries in Latin America were ranked very poorly in this particular ranking, and we wanted to find out what were the key challenges for harnessing AI for the common good in Latin America. And as you can see that this ranking for the global average, it was at 4.032. The countries that ranked higher than the global average included Mexico, Chile, Colombia, Uruguay, and Brazil. We wanted to also identify why these particular countries were doing well as compared to the rest. And we did find that some of those issues included the policies that they had in place, the capacity that they had for conducting artificial intelligence research, and access to adequate resources from within the space as well. And we wanted to find out also what specific metrics or pillars they looked at for this research. So they based this information on different areas of governance, so privacy laws and AI strategy, infrastructure and data, including open source data, data capability, advancing technology products, and then skills in education, including digital skills, innovation capability, and AI startups. And finally, the government and public services, including government effectiveness, digital public services, information and communication technologies. And in the end, when they published their particular study, they left this as the statement, essentially, for countries like those within Latin America, that they should automate with caution, that the way forward is still uncertain. Again, keep in mind, this was back in 2019, so still a lot of concerns and questions about ethics within the artificial intelligence space. And so when we looked at this issue around Latin American and Caribbean countries advancing in AI, we wanted to figure out, okay, what were the potential advancement credibility for these different countries? How could we essentially help them essentially solve more problems with AI, and what would be the risks if they started implementing the technology too quickly? So some of the advancement potential objectives included economic development, problem-solving capabilities, increased access to programs and services, and record digitization and data collection. And some of the risk considerations included robot and automated machinery density, job loss, and increased surveillance and hyperinflation, which is, some of those have been already very common, unfortunately, in many Latin American countries that rely heavily on manufacturing. And so when we conducted this meta-analysis for Latin American and Caribbean countries, we decided to look at some additional economic metrics which were not considered in the original study. And these included how could this ranking be improved, what economic factors were missed, and where does that leave the Latin American countries in the global AI race? How could we essentially advance their capabilities within this space? And we decided to include such metrics as the unemployment rate from the International Monetary Fund, the gross domestic product per capita purchasing power parity from the Central Intelligence Agency World Factbook, the cost to hire an AI researcher from Stack Overflow's 2018 developer survey, and the education level based on the UN Education Index. And this is how we developed our ranking, and we were very glad to see that since then, in 2023, the Government AI Readiness Ranking for Latin American and Caribbean countries has now, of course, been updated. There are 39 indicators across 10 dimensions, which make up the 3 main pillars. And it's interesting to see which countries have actually advanced within this space. And there are now 5 countries in Latin America that rank higher than the median, which include Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Colombia, and Argentina. And so we're still left asking, how can we essentially help Latin American countries to further advance in this space? And we are left with this idea that each country is only as prepared to take advantage of AI technology as its government and citizens will allow. A lot of the barriers that are still outstanding include obviously issues around policy, access to funding for research and development, and then issues around trade within and between each country. And most recently, we also published this research, AI Thrust, Ranking Emerging Powers for Tech Startup Investment in Latin America, as we're continuing to develop additional programs to help startups that are functioning within the space as well. This work was originally published at the International Conference on Economics, Business and Marketing Management in Singapore, actually this year. And so with this Latin American AI investment ranking, we did want to also identify which countries were considered up and coming, so essentially not those that are already doing great work or having access to resources for startup investment, but those that might be the next ones to come and have the most potential to create unicorns within this space. And for those that are not familiar with the term unicorn, essentially that's a startup that reaches a certain valuation of like $1 billion status. And those countries included, for example, Colombia, Uruguay, the Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Panama, some of which might surprise you, as these rankings were considered under several AI investment factors, including infrastructure, education, and financial factors. And so under the infrastructure elements, we wanted to consider things that would, of course, help people develop artificial intelligence from a startup perspective. So this would include having diverse opportunities for investors in AI implementation, access to computational power, hardware needed for AI development, and the efficient execution of AI, including how much internet is distributed not only locally in the home, but then also through wireless technology and through access on cell phones. And then following that, it would include educational elements, including vital components of AI investment readiness, and the presence of experts within the field of AI. So here we looked at the tertiary education penetration, as well as research articles and patents that were being published from within each country under this area of artificial intelligence by startups as well. And finally, under the financial elements, we decided that this was obviously a pivotal item to look at for AI investment decisions. We wanted to see how many AI investments were already taking place, what the returns or ROI on those investments were, how to manage risk within the space, and then what was considered the competitive landscape through the current economic rankings, and efficient execution of AI as well, and how AI was being adopted and implemented across different companies and organizations within each country. And some examples of case studies that we also included within this publication were Mercado Libre, which had, they were founded in 2001, and they are now one of the biggest marketplaces in Latin America. They are considered a unicorn that was actually founded before the economic crisis within that country. So they have come out of the space and were able to succeed a lot despite the fact that there was a recession within the space as well. And then another example was Banco Vision Fund. So this organization was actually founded in 1995 in Ecuador, and they were able to recover from the 1995 El Nino crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. And today they're one of the most important banks in Ecuador. They do implement a lot of artificial intelligence as well within their banking infrastructure. And finally, the CINDE is a nonprofit organization that was created to increase foreign investment in Costa Rica during the economic decline in 1982. And today they're one of the top 10 organizations in America that generates employment. And similarly, they actually also invest a lot in artificial intelligence companies from within Costa Rica. And Costa Rica has one of the highest wages for people that are working within engineering and artificial intelligence in Latin America as well. So that is a big indicator as a part of their economic success. And so now to quickly mention our program for Latin Venture Partnership. This is between the LatinX and AI organization and Excel Impact Ventures. And the goal here is to essentially invest in emerging markets and develop a fund for Latin American entrepreneurs. And so essentially, we're going to be investing in AI and deep tech innovation. So this combination of increasing capabilities with AI systems, as well as the different areas of industry, including biotechnology, health tech, robotics, space tech, clean tech, and so on, we know that this will, of course, create a deep tech innovation cycle that is very virtuous. So in the past, it used to take a lot of time, a lot of investment to build a startup or just build a product that was considered deep tech. Deep tech has always been categorized as something that requires many years of research in order for this product to actually come to realization. But as investment continues to grow, especially with the application of artificial intelligence technology, now the capital and time required for development has been dropping, and you've seen a growing number of success cases through this development as well. And so here's some examples of US Latinx-led AI startups who have actually raised over $100 million to date. These all incorporate artificial intelligence in one way or another, and many of which are also AI for good products as well. The one you'll probably be most familiar with is Duolingo, a really great company I think most of us probably use today. But others that you might be familiar with as well if you are in the engineering space would be Auth0 for authentication of most software products that you develop, or Brex is a really popular banking system that was developed by Latinx-led AI researchers as well. And surprisingly, in the US, which is where our organization is based, it's an interesting factor that Latinos generated approximately 2.8 trillion in GDP, or 13% of the US GDP. While if US Latinos were a country, they would be the 5th largest GDP in the world, and they're growing faster than any US economy. But still less than 1% of all venture capital funding for tech businesses in 2021 went to the Latino population. So there seems to be a gap between what our capabilities are as a community or a culture or ethnicity and what other people are valuing our work or our capabilities as. So this is something we're trying to change through the use of this particular program, investing in Latinos within the space. And even though half of the companies surveyed in the LATAM IBM Global AI Adoption Index are exploring some implementation of artificial intelligence, and over 1/3 of Latin American companies have incorporated AI-enabled service solutions into their services, there still is a gap from people recognizing the fact that Latin America is essentially AI ready and is already essentially doing this work as well. And then we have a company that we've been advising called Lupa that's actually based in Ecuador originally. And they have this really nice LLM social listening tool that they've developed. And so for the purpose of this presentation, they decided to pull up some Twitter insights on artificial intelligence in Latin America so we can see essentially how people are thinking about Latin America with the use of AI. And some of the most common things that emerged through this use of this LLM social listening tool were that there is a lot of competition for artificial intelligence. People are talking about AI regulation right now in this space, and a lot of people are talking about the outlook in AI. So in particular, focus on impact on the payment sector, integration of AI in the judicial system, dangers that AI represents for the upbringing of education in children, application of AI in small businesses, how to do sustainable development with artificial intelligence, generally innovation in business, and then participation in international events as well. If you're interested in utilizing this social listening tool, you can also check out their website at lupa.technology or use the QR code as well to look at their information. And then an interesting fact that people don't know, and why in particular we're focused on investing for startups within the space as well, is that Latin America is one of the fastest growing regions for venture funding. In particular, 19.5 billion was invested into the region, and that, as I mentioned, is still only 2% of the total venture capital investment that has been deployed in the world. So it sounds like a lot of funding, but unfortunately it's still just a very small amount, and the potential for incredible growth is still there. So some Latin American unicorns to date, as I mentioned a few earlier, Mercado Libre, Auth0 that you may be familiar with, but many that you may not be familiar with as well are worth looking into and recognizing for the work and what they've been able to achieve so far today. And some of the other advantages of investing in the LatinX AI and deep tech ecosystem includes that there essentially are already many startups working within the space. 340 deep tech startups with institutional funding, including in 14 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. There are 98 deep tech startups worth over 10 million, and with 3 of those being worth over 500 million. There are 65 local and international funds and accelerators investing in deep tech in Latin America and the Caribbean today. 8 billion of which is the current value of Latin American and Caribbean AI and deep tech ecosystem as a whole. And there is currently 2 billion capital that has been raised by Latin American and Caribbean AI and deep tech startups. And we're showing a 44% growth of AI and deep tech VC investment in Latin America between 2020 and 2022. And then for the breakdown of what these companies are doing, essentially, the largest proportion is focused on biotech at about 61%, followed then by more general artificial intelligence, or some might say kind of fundamental artificial intelligence, developing very unique models at 11%. And then from there, nanotechnology, clean tech, mobility, robotics, space tech, manufacturing, and so on. We're seeing a lot of connections between what are essentially the key ecosystems or industries that have been driven within these countries, now applying AI and robotics in ways that they haven't done before, which is very exciting. And then some of the advantages of the Latin American talent pool, if you're thinking about investing in or starting a startup within the AI space, it would be great to do so within Latin America, because there is a 5 to 10% savings of talent costs for Latin American and Caribbean AI and deep tech startups. There are already 871,000 people doing STEM research and development in Latin America and the Caribbean. There's about 10,000 people working in the Latin American and Caribbean AI startup ecosystem today, and about 5,000 or more people doing research within the space for AI and deep tech startups as well. And the impact of this technology on Latin America is going to be incredible, including about 100% long-term growth potential for Latin American and Caribbean deep tech ecosystem, about a 7% increase in GDP expected from additional Latin American and Caribbean GDP from the generative AI and deep tech in the next decade, and about $100 billion is the potential annual exports of knowledge-based services leveraging AI in the next 10 years from Latin American and Caribbean countries. And for those that are not familiar with the AI and deep tech startup cycle, a lot of the work that we've been doing already as an organization focuses on the area most on the left here, so under grant making. This is where a lot of traditional lab research occurs, of course, where you might find things like concept generation, analytical proofs, fundamental research, and intellectual property design. For the investment portion of our organization, we'll be focusing in the pre-seed and seed stage, where a lot of the product development and deployment occurs. So this is where real-world testing will happen, including commercial demos, proof of concepts, when a company might start to gain some users and start also taking in some revenue. So most of the investments we'll be making are going to be between 100,000 and 1 million. And then from there, as the company grows and starts to get ready for their Series A, B, C, or D, this is where they will traditionally find their go-to-market and product market fit. In this case, you'll find them producing or putting a product into production. They'll have different services or features in operation. They'll be recruiting a lot of new skills and new talent, and they'll be entering into new markets in the global sphere. And this is normally when a follow-on investment will occur or investment by many other firms until finally they do decide to exit through a merger and acquisition or an IPO. And this is where the scaling really takes place. So you'll see a lot of commercialization, partner integration, and scaling of that technology. And so if you're interested in learning more about our investment arm in partnership with Excel Impact, you can learn more, of course, on our website at excelimpact.vc or through that QR code as well. And in part, with this partnership, we are trying to also remove some of the barriers for our members who are lacking access to develop startup companies. So we found those most common barriers include capital, partnerships, mentors, data, computational power, and infrastructure. And these are a lot of the programs that we already have in place, and we can help support our network, of course, via the network we have built within Silicon Valley, which includes a lot of our corporate partners, as well as universities and accelerators within the space. So again, I would implore you to join our forum so you can take part of some of these benefits and programs. And then just a quick word on some of our research workshops. So this is a small taste of what we do here at this social. Usually our research workshops are a full day event. They're also co-located with many major AI and machine learning conferences, and we will have invited keynotes as well as people who will submit papers to be considered for oral presentations and poster presentations. And then we do cover the cost of travel accommodation, registration, and per diem for members who are participating with us at those full events. And that is handled through our conference grant fund, which to date our organization has awarded over 1,100 conference travel and registration grants to members of our community, which we think is quite a large achievement. And all of that can be thanked in part to our workshop sponsors, which we are very grateful for. So these are different sponsors that we have had throughout the years from 2018 to 2023. So thank you again to them for their participation. And then really quickly, on our mentorship program, if you have been considering advancing your career in artificial intelligence, we do have this opportunity available where we match early career Latinx and AI professionals with expert mentors. So also if you're considering being a mentor or helping out those that are just getting started in the space, this is a good opportunity for you as well to give back to the community. And so, of course, why do we need AI mentorship? Because not everyone has access to experienced mentors for research, engineering, and business solutions. So especially with issues around brain drain taking place, where people will essentially leave their home country in order to pursue new opportunities, this essentially helps to solve that problem. And while most Latin American countries do rate very highly on the education index, as you found from our research publication, many Latin American and Caribbean governments do not invest enough in technological research and development. So this will help to try to solve some of that problem or some of the barriers that are in place for Latinx mentees, which can be that they're not aware of their options, they lack local expertise, they have encouragement gaps within their family or their peer groups. There are often language differences between them and others that are already doing this work. They might have some financial hurdles, or they're lacking direct role models they can see working within the space. So some of the benefits, of course, from our program include that they are matched for specialization, career level, time zone, and language. They are offered research guidance, accountability, also often immigration and application advising if they are applying for a PhD program, for example, or a new job opportunity in another country. And we do have this platform to connect and amplify their work as well through our co-location with many of these major international conferences. The mentor matching algorithm I won't go into super detail about, but essentially it does look at all of these different preferences for both the mentee and the mentor, and then matches them similar to a recommendation engine. And then that mentoring takes place virtually. Over a 3-month period, we run 2 cohorts per year, one essentially in the spring and one in the fall. And we do, of course, encourage the mentees to improve their outcomes and then present alongside our workshops if they're able to. Some really quick testimonials from people who have participated. We did have one person actually in high school who participated in this program. Stephanie said she learned a lot about ML and AI and enjoyed having discussions with her mentor. They were very insightful, and she felt like she could reach out to them in the future. We have come to find out Stephanie is now at Stanford in California, in part due to this mentorship relationship that she had. She decided to pursue a full degree within artificial intelligence, so that's very exciting. And then Gabriel Francisco Lemos, who is a graduate student in Sao Paulo in Brazil, he said that the mentor meetings were crucial for the planning and next steps towards his PhD project, and it was very meaningful for him to take part in this. And then also Nicolas Araque, who is a professor of engineering in Venezuela, he said that this mentorship program was a game changer for his career. And in the 2-month experience that he had, he went from not knowing how to handle research writing to developing a full paper, which he then got published as well with our organization. So some very nice examples of people who have participated. And then just a quick timeline for our organization. We are here now at our social. Actually, this one isn't even listed on this, unfortunately. I think I made a little error there. But we do have the next one coming up at ICRA, which is the first robotics conference we'll be hosting at in Yokohama, Japan, which is coming. And then following that, we will have a workshop at CVPR, the Computer Vision Pattern Recognition Conference, as well as NACL, which will be taking place in Mexico City, and then at ICML. And we'll have another social as well at the Fairness, Accountability, and Transparency Conference, FACT, which will be taking place in Brazil. And then following that, for the next half of the year, we'll also be at the ACL, ECCV, ICARM, which will be our second robotics event this year. And then we'll have, of course, our full workshop as well at the Neural Information Processing Systems Conference in December and our full mentorship program. And then I won't go into too much detail. I know we're kind of close on time here for our Journal of Latinx and AI Research, but essentially we wanted to develop this journal to help to officially index any research that was published with our organization. If you would like to learn more also about presenting with us, this is a great opportunity because we cover all of the costs of publications while assigning the DOIs for the research that's published with us. And we are hosting currently a call for papers for this journal, as well as applications for editorial board positions if you're interested in participating as part of the editorial board. And finally, we have the LatinX and AI Supercomputer Network Program, which essentially was developed to lower the barriers for access to computational power. This obviously was because there is a demand for GPU access now with the onset of deep learning and then also the onset of additional AI patents around neural networks. We wanted to ensure that Latin Americans had access, and there of course is a large need for Latinx GPU access because Latin American countries have lagged more developed nations in journal AI publications. Currently, LATAM only produces 2.83% of journal and 1.3% of conference papers, and we know that that number really needs to be improved. So this is a small effort in order to help solve that problem. So overall, this program was originally thought of in 2021. We developed a relationship essentially with NVIDIA and Tec de Monterrey, which is a large university network within Mexico. We put out a call for research proposals for compute time as part of our pilot, and then we had this server installed at Tecnológico de Monterrey in Guadalajara. And we launched our primary cohort for this particular project. There are well, actually first, this is also in part a partnership with the Jalisco government, which is the local government there, who are helping as well to manage and run the server as part of the relationship with Tecnológico de Monterrey. And this server that was donated by NVIDIA is a DGX A100 system. It does have 8 GPUs, which is the equivalent to 28 P100s. So it does allow us to essentially run each of the GPUs separately and allow 8 teams to access the server at one time. And when we put out that supercomputer network call for proposals, we did have over 200 applicants. And they included people from academic and industry research, AI startups, NGOs, graduate students, and research challenge organizers. So out of the 200 people that applied, we chose 8 AI impact research proposals that were selected, and their proposals were evaluated based on their problem motivation, intellectual merit, methodology and approach, expected results, potential impact, and the experience of the PIs. So we're very excited to see the results that will come out of that particular pilot that we'll find essentially at the end of this year. And of course, we have an open call for additional partners. If there are other companies or organizations that are interested in working with us to try to solve this problem of access to compute, we are happy to connect with you as well to solve that problem. So I'm going to go ahead and skip these last couple slides and just end with thank you all. I hope you can join us. Do find our community online. We are on essentially all the social media platforms.